John, a 45-year-old American, always felt a tug in his heart for something more. Living in a bustling city was exciting but ultimately tiresome. The constant pressure of work, traffic, and the daily grind left him yearning for a change. When he stumbled upon the idea of moving to the Philippines where paradise meets possibility, something within him ignited. The thought of turquoise waters, warm smiles, and relaxed pace of life enticed him. He envisioned himself waking up to tropical sunrises, sipping coffee while overlooking palm-fringed beaches, and connecting with a culture rich in history and vibrant tradition. Yet, moving wasn't merely a whimsical fantasy. At the core of his decision was a profound dissatisfaction with his current life. The corporate ladder felt like a restricting cage, and as his retirement approached, he pondered whether he really wanted to spend those years chained to a desk. Exploring remote work opportunities, he realized he could earn a living while embracing a new way of life. His expectations were high. He imagined making friends quickly, immersing himself in the local culture, and uncovering adventures around every corner. But how would he turn this dream into reality? The planning process was an intricate tapestry woven with excitement and trepidation. He researched endlessly, reading blogs and chatting with expatriates who had taken the leap before him. Each story filled him with hope, but also a touch of trepidation. What would he need to learn? What cultural nuances did he need to respect? Would he truly find belonging in a land that felt so foreign? As he booked his flight and started organizing his life for this new chapter, John felt both invigorated and terrified. What awaited him in the Philippines? Would he truly find the happiness and fulfillment he sought? As his departure date approached, he reflected on what he was leaving behind. Friends, family, familiar streets. Would they understand his desire for change? Some were supportive, while others expressed concern. What if it doesn't work out, they asked. It was a question that lingered in his mind. What if it doesn't work out? But what if it did? What if he discovered a sense of belonging and purpose he had never known? The allure of the unknown was too tantalizing to resist. And despite the fears that crept in, John booked his ticket and set off on his journey, determined to embrace whatever came next. As he landed in the Philippines, the vibrant energy of the country enveloped him. The aroma of grilled street food wafted through the air, mingling with the sounds of laughter and conversation. He could see people bustling about, engaged in a spirited market conversation, and children playing in the streets with infectious glee. Yet, as he stepped into this colorful world, John began to realize that the experience would not mirror the idyllic picture painted in his mind. The excitement was soon shadowed by reality. How often do we romanticize the idea of change without considering the challenges? John thought. The first few days were overwhelming. Language barriers loomed large. Despite his efforts to learn a few phrases in Tagalog, actual conversations often left him feeling lost. Simple grocery shopping turned into a puzzling adventure. Deciphering labels and understanding local customs proved to be far more complicated than anticipated. Would he ever get the hang of this? He quickly discovered that the financial landscape was not as welcoming as he had hoped. While some costs were lower than in the States, others like accommodation in popular areas were surprisingly steep. John found himself making adjustments and sacrifices that he hadn't foreseen. How did most expatriates navigate this aspect of life? His budgeting became a balancing act of its own, as he tried to find ways to sustain his lifestyle without draining his savings. He questioned whether he had made the right decision, grappling with the financial strain and isolation creeping in on him. Loneliness settled within him like a weight. Where were the connections he dreamed of? Days stretched into weeks, and making friends proved to be more challenging than anticipated. The initial hospitality he encountered began to fade, and John found himself feeling like an outsider looking in. How do you forge genuine connections in a culture that feels so foreign? Each attempt to strike up a conversation felt clumsy, and he missed the comfort of familiar faces back home. He began to ask himself if the dream was worth all the struggle. Was this what he envisioned? The thought of packing his bags and returning to the States lingered in his mind. Was he cut out for this? Maybe he had idealized the experience too much, focusing solely on the sunny beaches and vibrant celebrations without recognizing the deeper cultural complexities he was stepping into. Yet another part of him resisted this urge to retreat. Could there be more waiting for him if he just persevered? Would it be possible for him to shift his approach and find his place in this new world? Each passing day felt like a crossroads, where he could either embrace the challenge or surrender to discouragement. Would he allow his dreams to shatter under the weight of harsh reality? Or was there a glimmer of hope on the horizon waiting for him to discover? As John settled deeper into his new life, the enchanting allure of the Philippines began to tarnish under the weight of practical challenges. The vibrant markets, once thrilling in their chaos, now felt overwhelming. The language barrier was not just a minor hurdle, it was a wall that isolated him from the everyday interactions that make life rich and fulfilling. Simple exchanges that should have been effortless turned into stumbling blocks. For instance, ordering food was an exercise in frustration. He often found himself awkwardly gesturing and hoping for the best, only to receive something entirely different from what he had intended. The realization hit him hard. Communication is more than words, it's about understanding and connection. While he practiced phrases diligently, in the heat of the moment, they frequently escaped him. What would it take to truly understand the rhythm of this country? John started to question his social instincts. He thought about how relationships often begin with shared experiences and laughter. Would he ever laugh with someone over a joke about an innocent misunderstanding regarding menu items? Or would he continue to feel like a visitor in a land where he deeply wished to belong? Facing the high cost of living was another unexpected hurdle. While many aspects were cheaper than his life back home, certain staples like quality produce and reliable internet were surprisingly exorbitant. Each trip to the grocery store tested his budget. He found himself counting coins and bargaining at the markets, hoping to stretch his limited resources. He had anticipated some financial adjustments, but as his savings dwindled faster than he had imagined, a sinking feeling settled in his stomach. How could he reconcile his dreams with the stark financial reality? More troubling was the creeping sense of solitude that began to engulf him. The friendly smiles that first greeted him seemed to fade into a distant memory. He craved companionship but struggled to break into established social circles. Every outing felt like an exercise in futility, as he wandered alone through bustling streets, witnessing the camaraderie of others while feeling completely disconnected. The silence of his apartment at the end of each day echoed louder than ever. Would he ever get past the initial niceties and connect deeply with someone? The absence of familiar connections left him feeling adrift, longing for the comfort and warmth of friendships he had taken for granted in his previous life. In this state of disillusionment, John often contemplated the path he had chosen. He found himself standing on the precipice of doubt, questioning whether he had romanticized the idea of expatriation too much. Perhaps he was not cut out for the adventure he envisioned. The pangs of uncertainty haunted him as he wondered if he should simply buy a ticket home. Would his return mean giving up? Or would it signify a courageous choice to acknowledge his limits? Just when the weight of loneliness felt heaviest, fate intervened in the form of a serendipitous encounter. While exploring a local park one afternoon, John met Maria, a spirited woman in her 30s who seemed to embody the vibrancy of the Philippines. With an easy smile and a warm demeanor, she struck up a conversation that would change the course of his journey. Maria spoke fluent English, and, more importantly, her laughter was infectious. She shared stories of her life, her experiences navigating her own challenges, and the beauty of embracing the unexpected. Within minutes, John felt a spark of connection he had longed for. After that day, Maria became his guide into the heart of Filipino culture. She invited him to local festivals and family gatherings, introducing him to her world with open arms. Each new experience brought him closer to understanding the values that shaped this vibrant community. He learned that humor was often the greatest bridge between cultures. Maria taught him not only the language but also the unspoken customs that shaped interactions. Suddenly, the seemingly insurmountable language barrier started to crumble. He discovered how laughter could transcend words. He found himself sharing stories, making jokes, and most importantly, fostering bonds. Reflecting on how quickly everything changed made John realize how essential connection is to the human experience. He began to embrace the unpredictability of life in the Philippines. Each day presented a new opportunity to learn, laugh, and grow. Unexpected lessons emerged from the cultural tapestry he was gradually weaving into his life. The more he immersed himself, the clearer it became that adaptation wasn't a solitary journey. It thrived on shared experiences. People were willing to teach him about their world if he approached them with respect and genuine curiosity. As John navigated these new relationships, he started to see the Philippines through a different lens. The bustling markets, once overwhelming, transformed into vibrant communities filled with stories waiting to be uncovered. Instead of merely enduring the language barrier, he began to view it as a tapestry of rich culture, each word a thread weaving connections. The difficulties he faced no longer felt like obstacles, but rather stepping stones on his path to belonging. His laughter became louder, his heart fuller, and his connections deeper. With this realization, he confronted his earlier doubts. The question was no longer, what if it doesn't work out, but rather, What if this is just the beginning of a beautiful chapter? He understood that facing challenges was part of the journey toward discovering his place in this vibrant tapestry. Staying would mean embracing the unpredictability, allowing the laughter of new friendships to drown out the loneliness that once echoed in his apartment. Would he have the courage to continue? Only time would tell. But for the first time, John felt a glimmer of hope, a spark of adventure waiting to unfold. As John settled into his new routine, buoyed by his friendship with Maria and a growing sense of community, he experienced a pivotal shift in his mindset. The initial shock of reality had begun to wane, revealing a more profound understanding of life in the Philippines. This turning point came unexpectedly one sweltering afternoon while John was sitting at a local cafe, reflecting on his journey so far. He observed life around him, children playing tag, elders chatting over cups of coffee, and vendors shouting the names of their fresh produce. The vibrant scene brought forth a powerful realization was no longer just an observer. He was part of something larger. With the encouragement of Maria, John stepped outside his comfort zone regularly. He started to attend local community events, from lively street festivals to more intimate gatherings where families shared traditional meals. Each experience peeled back layers of unfamiliarity, revealing the warm heart of the Filipino culture. During one such festival, standing amidst colorful decorations, rhythmic music, and the laughter of children, John made a bold decision. He wanted to contribute, not just absorb. He wanted to give back to the community that was slowly embracing him. This desire to connect led him to explore volunteer opportunities around the city. With Maria's help, he found a local nonprofit organization that focused on educational support for underprivileged children. Armed with enthusiasm and a couple of boxes of old books he had brought from the States, John committed to teaching English to kids in a nearby barangay. The first day was a whirl of energy. His heart raced with excitement when he entered the classroom filled with eager faces. How often do we underestimate the impact we can have by simply sharing our knowledge? That day, John discovered that the act of teaching would not only help the children but transform him in ways he never anticipated. While he initially feared he would struggle with the language barrier, the children's enthusiasm propelled him forward. They were not just learning a language, they were teaching him the true essence of joy, curiosity, and resilience. Days turned into weeks, and the classroom became a sanctuary for both John and his students. He introduced games to his lessons, incorporating fun into learning. Soon he was greeted each session with high fives and laughter. Moments of shared learning transformed into bonds that transcended any initial awkwardness brought on by cultural differences. John found joy in watching his students not only learn English, but also gain confidence and curiosity about the world. Their laughter filled the room, a sound that became both a soundtrack to his days and a reminder of why he chose to make this leap overseas. Through his involvement, John learned about the challenges faced by many parents struggling to provide a good education for their children. Conversations with community members revealed stories of perseverance that sparked a desire in him to do more. He organized small fundraisers within his expatriate community, convincing fellow foreigners and even some locals to contribute. Together, they raised money for books, school supplies, and resources that would help the children in their learning journeys. Amid this whirlwind of excitement and newfound purpose, John discovered more about himself than he ever thought possible. Reflecting during quiet moments, he recognized how this experience pushed him to face his fears directly. He learned that vulnerability could lead to strength, and that embracing discomfort often unveiled great rewards. He could no longer view the trials of his transition as mere obstacles. Instead, he regarded them as stepping stones towards self-discovery and an enriched life. As he looked back over his journey, he understood the intricate tapestry of his life was woven not just from his experiences, but from the people he had met along the way. Each connection strengthened his belief that relationships, regardless of how fleeting, could shape a person profoundly. John pondered the metaphor of a seed planted in foreign soil. If nurtured with Korean open heart, a willingness to learn, and an eagerness to connect it could blossom into something beautiful. However, the journey wasn't without moments of doubt. As projects grew, so did the responsibility. He sometimes wondered if he truly had the skills and patience to see them through. What if he faltered? Could he balance his own life while supporting others? Would he have enough resilience to face setbacks? Yet, in those moments of doubt, Maria's friendship anchored him. She shared stories of her own experiences, tales of disappointment transformed into eventual success. Inspiration came from her recounting how she had navigated her challenges to find her niche in the community. Her words became salve for his uncertainties, encouraging him to press on. Encouraged by his newfound purpose and the support around him, John could see that he was beginning to truly thrive. The challenges he initially faced were not signs of defeat, but rather invitations to adapt and grow. Learning to navigate life in the Philippines became a source of empowerment rather than frustration. As he forged deeper connections through teaching, volunteering, and sharing experiences, he found that the loneliness that once consumed him began to dissipate. What lay ahead was still uncertain, but John felt ready to embrace every twist and turn. Each day became an opportunity to learn something new about the culture, but also about himself. He was not just a spectator. He had evolved into an active participant in the vibrant narrative of his life in the Philippines. Now, standing at the crossroads of past doubts and hopeful aspirations, he felt the weight of new dreams blossoming within him. What stories would he be able to tell a year from now? What deeper connections awaited him as he continued to immerse himself in this beautiful culture? His heart swelled with anticipation and purpose. The road ahead looked promising, filled with lessons yet to learn, friendships yet to forge, and a life increasingly full of meaning. Yet, as the mobile library program gained momentum, John couldn't shake the feeling of longing for deeper connections within the broader landscape of the Philippines, not just in his immediate community. He had created a home here, but what about understanding the wider culture and its nuances? He remembered his earlier intentions of exploring the country and connecting with its people beyond the classroom walls. With this in mind, John began planning weekend excursions to nearby provinces. He wanted to immerse himself in the diverse cultural fabric of the Philippines. Together with Maria and some of his students, he organized trips to historical sites, indigenous communities, and festivals that celebrated local traditions. Each journey became a lesson in history and culture, deepening his appreciation for the nation he now called home. One weekend, they traveled to a nearby island known for its rich heritage and stunning landscapes. As they explored the local market, John savored the sights, sounds, and aromas that engulfed him. The vibrant colors of handcrafted textiles and the tantalizing sense of local cuisine filled his senses. Engaging with the vendors, he learned about their crafts and the stories behind their traditions. During their stay, they attended a community festival celebrating the island's history. As the sun dipped below the horizon, John joined in the traditional dances, laughter echoing through the streets. In those moments, he understood that true connection came from embracing both the struggles and the joys of the people around him. Amid this rich tapestry of experiences, John continued to reflect on his purpose and what it meant to build bridges not just within his community, but across the country. The realization dawned on him that every person he met added a thread to his understanding of Filipino culture. Stories intertwined, illuminating the common thread of resilience that ran through each narrative. With each journey, John not only expanded his horizons, but also empowered his students to see the beauty in their heritage. They began to share these experiences in their own storytelling sessions, creating a cyclical exchange of knowledge and culture within their community. This initiative blossomed into a dialogue that nurtured pride in their identities, awakening the young minds to the importance of their roots. As John stood at the heart of this bustling life filled with laughter, stories, and the vibrant pulse of community, felt a wave of gratitude. He recognized that his journey in the Philippines was no longer about an escape from his past. It had morphed into a purpose-driven adventure. The weight of uncertainty was replaced by an invigorating sense of belonging, a shared mission to uplift and connect. However, realization washed over him. This journey was ongoing. What lay ahead remained uncertain, but John felt resolved to embrace the unfolding chapters of his life. He looked forward to continuing to learn, share, and grow with the remarkable community that had welcomed him with open arms. The future held promise, filled with stories yet to be written, bridges yet to be built, and connections waiting to deepen. As he gazed out into the horizon, he was ready to take the next step forward, wherever it might lead. He organized storytelling nights where the community could come together and share their narratives, fables, folklore, personal stories. This exchange not only celebrated their culture, but also allowed John to weave his own story into the tapestry of their lives. Sharing his journey of moving to the Philippines brought authenticity to his role among them, and with every story, he felt the gap between them and him narrowing. Through these evenings, John learned more about the rich history of the Philippines. Families recounted tales of bravery, resilience, and the enduring spirit that characterized their culture. He discovered the importance of community in navigating tough times, and with each story, he felt a deeper connection to the land and its people. The familiar loneliness that once haunted him had vanished, replaced by a burgeoning sense of belonging. Yet, the learning process was far from linear, marked by both triumphs and setbacks. One evening, during a storytelling session, a young girl shyly approached him and asked, "Are you staying forever?" His heart sank momentarily. It was a heavy question. Did he even have the answer? John had envisioned his time in the Philippines as a long and transformative chapter, but the concept of permanence was still daunting. Instead of shrinking from the question, he inhaled deeply and replied, "I hope to. In many ways, I already feel at home. But what's important is making meaningful connections wherever we are." Her skeptical expression didn't entirely dissipate, but the candidness of his response resonated with her. It was one of those teaching moments that went both ways. A reminder that even the most confident journeys involve uncertainty. With each passing day, John's heart opened further to the whirlwind of life in the Philippines. As he embraced his role within the community, he began to envision what lasting change could look like not just through education, but by nurturing a network of support that could empower those around him. The landscape of his life transformed into a beautiful mosaic, rich with colors of friendships, shared laughter, and a commitment to uplift each other. Ultimately, John learned that change is an ongoing journey rather than a finite destination. It required listening, adapting, and building connections. It wasn't merely about providing resources. It was about fostering relationships rooted in respect and collaboration. His mission was to continue nurturing these bonds, sharing the knowledge he had gained while remaining receptive to the lessons being taught in return. The journey ahead promised to be challenging, but it was one he felt genuinely prepared for, equipped with a deeper understanding of what it meant to belong. As he reflected on how far he had come from a lonely expatriate grappling with uncertainty to a catalyst for change, John embraced the possibility of a remarkable future. What new challenges lay ahead? What further connections awaited him in this beautiful country he now called home? He looked toward the horizon with hope and curiosity, ready to explore all that life had to offer. With newfound confidence and purpose, John dived headfirst into his community initiatives, transforming his understanding of belonging into actionable steps. The storytelling nights continued to flourish, allowing for deeper connections and cultural exchanges. Each gathering was a celebration of shared experiences, where laughter and tears intertwined, illuminating the richness of life in the Philippines. But as John found joy in this communal journey, the broader challenges facing the community also demanded attention. He learned of the significant educational disparities in the region, especially among the children in outlying areas. The vibrant energy of the storytelling nights highlighted the creativity and resilience of the community. But John knew that many children were still grappling with limited resources and opportunities. One evening, after a particularly inspiring session filled with remarkable stories, John found himself in a deep conversation with Maria. "What if we could create a program that brings books and resources directly to those who need them?" he suggested, excitement bubbling in his chest. Maria's eyes lit up with possibility. "That could be a game changer, but we'll need local support for it to succeed." Determined to turn this idea into reality, John began conducting research. He reached out to local schools, teachers, and parents, gathering insights on their needs and concerns. He discovered that many of the children in remote villages lacked access to even basic school supplies or learning materials. This knowledge fueled his ambition to launch a mobile library program. As the community rallied around the idea, John organized a meeting with local leaders, teachers, and interested parents. The atmosphere was charged with enthusiasm as he presented his vision, emphasizing that this initiative would not only provide resources, but also foster a love for reading and learning in children. To his delight, the community responded with overwhelming support. Together, they brainstormed logistics, potential routes, and even fundraising strategies to sustain the initiative. Within weeks, they began collecting donations of books, stationery, and educational materials. Local businesses stepped up, offering sponsorships and financial support. Seeing the community come together was a powerful reminder of the strength found in unity. This collaborative effort ignited a movement that breathed life into John's vision. As they raised funds, the group decided to organize a launch event that combined fun and education in an outdoor festival, where families could come together and celebrate the power of reading. John helped coordinate games, storytelling sessions, and local food vendors, creating an atmosphere of joy and anticipation. On the day of the festival, John's heart swelled with pride as he watched families arrive, children laughing and chasing after each other, their joyful energy infectious. The centerpiece of the event was a beautifully decorated mobile library van, filled to the brim with books for children of all ages. As the ribbon was cut, Cheers erupted, marking the official launch of the Mobile Library Initiative. Throughout the day, John witnessed the excitement of children discovering new books and the joy of parents engaged in their children's learning. It was a tangible manifestation of their efforts, and in that moment, John knew they had made a real impact. The mobile library became more than just a means to distribute educational materials. It evolved into a symbol of hope and unity within the community. One of the highlights came when they set aside time for storytelling. Families gathered around, eagerly listening as local elders shared tales that passed down generations of rich heritage that further colored John's understanding of the intricacies of Filipino culture. The love for narratives was palpable, and children listened wide-eyed, captivated by the enchanting stories. As the months rolled on, the mobile library program flourished. John learned the importance of adaptability in this endeavor. Each visit brought new challenges, whether it was navigating the rugged roads to remote villages or addressing logistical hurdles. However, with each obstacle came an opportunity to innovate and grow stronger. Through the program, John also forged friendships with local teachers who shared their passion for education. They brainstormed ideas on how to engage students effectively, turning book distribution into a fun and interactive experience. John started collaborating with them to organize reading challenges, art contests, and writing workshops that encouraged creativity among the children. The mobile library was transforming into a dynamic hub of learning and engagement. While the initiative brought him immense fulfillment, it also highlighted the realities of community work. John began to realize the emotional toll it could take, particularly when encountering children with difficult home situations or witnessing the struggles of families trying to make ends meet. There were moments when the weight of these challenges felt heavy on his heart. During these times, he found solace in the friendships he had built. Maria became a steadfast support, offering him wisdom and perspective when the road seemed overwhelming. One evening, under the starlit sky, John and Maria shared a quiet moment reflecting on the progress they had made. "You've done something incredible here, John," she said, her voice filled with sincerity. "It's not just about the books. You've helped create a community that values education and sees the power of storytelling." Her words resonated deeply, reminding him that their collective effort had fostered not only a love for reading, but also a sense of belonging. Yet, as the mobile library program gained momentum, John couldn't shake the feeling of longing for deeper connections within the broader landscape of the Philippines, not just in his immediate community. He had created a home here, but what about understanding the wider culture and its nuances? He remembered his earlier intentions of exploring the country and connecting with its people beyond the classroom walls. With this in mind, John began planning weekend excursions to nearby provinces. He wanted to immerse himself in the diverse cultural fabric of the Philippines. Together with Maria and some of his students, he organized trips to historical sites, indigenous communities, and festivals that celebrated local traditions. Each journey became a lesson in history and culture, deepening his appreciation for the nation he now called home. One weekend, they traveled to a nearby island known for its rich heritage and stunning landscapes. As they explored the local market, John savored the sights, sounds, and aromas that engulfed him. The vibrant colors of handcrafted textiles and the tantalizing sense of local cuisine filled his senses. Engaging with the vendors, he learned about their crafts and the stories behind their traditions. During their stay, they attended a community festival celebrating the island's history. As the sun dipped below the horizon, John joined in the traditional dances, laughter echoing through the streets. In those moments, he understood that true connection came from embracing both the struggles and the joys of the people around him. Amid this rich tapestry of experiences, John continued to reflect on his purpose and what it meant to build bridges not just within his community, but across the country. The realization dawned on him that every person he met added a thread to his understanding of Filipino culture. Stories intertwined, illuminating the common thread of resilience that ran through each narrative. With each journey, John not only expanded his horizons, but also empowered his students to see the beauty in their heritage. They began to share these experiences in their own storytelling sessions, creating a cyclical exchange of knowledge and culture within their community. This initiative blossomed into a dialogue that nurtured pride in their identities, awakening the young minds to the importance of their roots. As John stood at the heart of this bustling life one, filled with laughter, stories, and the vibrant pulse of community, felt a wave of gratitude. He recognized that his journey in the Philippines was no longer about an escape from his past. It had morphed into a purpose-driven adventure. The weight of uncertainty was replaced by an invigorating sense of belonging, a shared mission to uplift and connect. However, realization washed over him this journey was ongoing. What lay ahead remained uncertain, but John felt resolved to embrace the unfolding chapters of his life. He looked forward to continuing to learn, share, and grow with the remarkable community that had welcomed him with open arms. The future held promise, filled with stories yet to be written, bridges yet to be built, and connections waiting to deepen. As he gazed out into the horizon, he was ready to take the next step forward, wherever it might lead.